I had the chance to play the Pikmin 3 Deluxe demo for a little over an hour, and I thought I would do a video where I talked about some of my opinions and impressions of that demo. I've paired it with gameplay footage of me playing, just straightforward gameplay footage, no editing or anything like that. Obviously, I'll do it different for the review. I did play Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, but because I'm an old man and I play a lot of games, I don't often remember much about what I play. There are little bits and pieces about Pikmin 3 that I do remember, but the Pikmin 3 Deluxe is going to be a nice refresher for me. And even in the demo alone, there's things that I did remember and things I didn't. So I'll just be talking about Pikmin 3 Deluxe overall and some of my thoughts about the jump to Switch. One of my favorite things about the Pikmin franchise in general is just the vibe of it. It's very different from not just other Nintendo titles, but a lot of games out there. It just has a very unique vibe to it. They do a really good job with making you feel alone on your missions, even though you're surrounded by Pikmin. They do a wonderful job of making you feel scared because you never know what enemies are right around the corner, and you don't want them to take out your Pikmin. And you're just, it's kind of strange. It's a mix of like soothing while you're also on edge. It's such an interesting feeling, and I really enjoy it. It makes the game like really intoxicating. And Pikmin 3 does Pikmin 3 Deluxe does a wonderful job at that. You get that same vibe almost instantly. And it's sure to last throughout the entire experience, even though you have 3 characters that you're playing as this time. There's 3 people that have crash landed on this planet, and you're going to switch between them to get various aspects of missions done. I thought Pikmin 3 on the Wii U was one of the few games that actually put the gamepad to good use. You had a number of features. You could pretty much access whatever you needed to on the menu, but you had the map right there, and you could check out routes and stuff like that in the palm of your hands, which was extremely helpful. And I think that is going to be hard for Pikmin 3 Deluxe to outshine. Obviously, Pikmin 3 Deluxe handles things more traditionally because you don't have a screen in your hands unless you're playing portable, and it still doesn't work the same way. But obviously, Pikmin 1 and 2 didn't have the luxury of a gamepad screen as well, so it's not a knock against the game. I just say the gamepad screen really, I felt, did a lot for the game, so I do miss it. But what's here is perfectly serviceable, and I really like using, I believe the Wii U version had gyro controls, but you know, the gamepad was a monster of a controller, and the Switch Pro controller, if you're playing with that, which I was, is much more manageable. So using that for gyro controls to move around your reticle for where you're tossing Pikmin feels a lot better. I just love using gyro controls to move around reticles and things like that. It feels very natural, very easy, and I feel I can get a much better handle on where I want things to go rather than a joystick. Like I've said in other videos, with a joystick, sometimes you have to make little nudges here and there to get things to line up the way you want to, but when you can use gyro controls, you just do very slight hand movements, and you can get it pretty much with pinpoint accuracy to where you want it. So I really like that. That's how I've been playing. And again, like you do in Super Mario Galaxy in the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, you hit a button to recenter your target when it feels like it's a little bit off or wonky. And just like in Super Mario Galaxy, god darn it, it didn't bother me. I didn't have any issues with it. So far, so good. I'm really enjoying playing that way. Roughly at the hour mark, at least in my gameplay of the demo, you gain access to at least one other character, and you can switch between them on the fly, and you can separate your Pikmin groups to go with one of the characters. So you could have red Pikmin with one character and rock Pikmin with another character. And I was having some trouble using the control scheme, and I think it's just because it was all new to me, and I was nervous because I'm constantly nervous in a Pikmin game. I'm always worried that something's going to pop up and take out half my team. So I need to get used to it, but I was definitely fumbling with the controls early on. And then the timer aspect, because there's a certain amount of time in each day to get things done, puts on more pressure when the timer starts to count down for like the final moments before you have to take off. I was trying to get something done, and I was fumbling with controls, and I just had like a mental lock, and I almost lost part of my team, but thankfully I managed to pull it together. Again, I need more time with the controls. What is it? I think it's Y button to bring up like your split of characters, and you use the joystick up, down, left, or right to pick which ones you want to do. And I keep wanting to use the D-pad, but that is not an option, at least as far as I was playing. It wasn't an option, so I just kept accidentally hitting the wrong button, and then I'd have to back out, and I hit the wrong button again. So I'll get used to it. But actually moving around and controlling the camera and throwing Pikmin and all that is absolutely fine. Feels perfect. I just need to get into the groove. I don't think it's fair for me to say an hour into the game that the controls are cumbersome, because I need more time to learn them, so I'm sure it will get better as I go on. And then the rest is traditional Pikmin, and I do not mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a lovely way. I don't think we have enough Pikmin games. I really hope that this one is the one that breaks through for Nintendo. Pikmin games have sold well in the past, but they're obviously on the lower tier of sales when it comes to Nintendo's IP. But I'm hopeful that the combination of people not playing Pikmin 3 on the Wii U not selling well, and the Switch selling ridiculously well, and on top of that, Wii U games coming over to Switch have sold ridiculously well. I'm crossing fingers that this is the moment for Pikmin as a franchise to really come through and find a bigger audience. So it took forever for Fire Emblem to find its audience outside of Japan, but it did happen, and I think the same thing can happen with Pikmin. It just needs to be a combination of elements, and I see those elements here, so I'm hopeful. But yeah, I definitely think there needs to be more Pikmin games, because I find it to be so interesting and so thought-provoking, and it gives me so many feelings that I don't get from other games. As I was saying, I'm nervous because enemies can be around any corner. They can be hiding under the ground. They can be hiding in a cave or behind a bush. You don't know when things are going to pop out, and you're thrown into a battle. And losing a Pikmin is heart-wrenching because, you don't want to lose any of your Pikmin, but the noise that they make when they get eaten up or trampled or whatever, it's terrible. And you will get into battles where, unfortunately, you'll lose, like, a ridiculous amount of Pikmin all at once, and if you're playing the way the game intends, then there's just nothing you can do about it. You can grow more, but there's going to be a limit to how many you can grow, and just some of those are going to be gone. It's not like they have any individual personalities or anything like that, but still, it really hurts when you lose them. And then there's the whole sense of wonder to the game, where you're basically like a miniature character running around the environment, seeing things from a perspective you don't normally see in real life, and there's just... you never know what you're going to find. It could be, a giant piece of fruit or some other kind of like everyday item from our world, but it's explained in Pikmin in such a unique way because the characters are from a completely different planet. They've never seen these things, so it's little humorous twists on everyday items. I just love that. And there's something very serene about the settings and about the environment in general. Pikmin does a great job of showing you the harsh beauty of the environment, and that's something that exists in the real world, obviously, but just that juxtaposition of, a peaceful, beautiful scene with vegetation and whatever else in the background, mixed with, giant creatures lumbering around that could take you out at any second. I just really appreciate that. And even the sound design, the music, all of it really blends in well. It has such a unique feeling to it. I really love it. It makes me feel unlike pretty much any other game. And on top of all that, Pikmin as a franchise, all of the entries, and especially Pikmin 3 Deluxe, or Pikmin 3 when I played it on the Wii U, gave me that feeling that this is the type of game that only Nintendo can make. Like, obviously there's games in similar veins, but there's just something about the way Nintendo approaches it with, like, whimsy, I guess, and other attributes. It just gives you that Nintendo feel. I think as a Nintendo fan, as most Nintendo fans feel, there's certain games that you're like, man, this is that Nintendo feeling. This feels like a Nintendo game. Certain amount of charm or a certain approach to design or just whatever it may be. There's just something that's hard to put your finger on, but it just clicks for you, and you're like, yeah, this has that Nintendo feeling to it. Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Pikmin 3 before it really has that feeling. and I love it. It brings me straight back to my childhood days when I first started playing Nintendo games and had that feeling. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know how they do it, but it is alive and well in Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Alright, that's my impressions of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, at least the demo, the hour plus I played in the demo. Obviously, I'll share final thoughts in a review. I wanted this to be short. I don't know if it ended up being short. Probably shorter than the review, though, so so there's that. But yeah, thanks for watching, listening, or watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's very much appreciated. Also, a huge thank you to those of you who support me on Patreon. Helps me do videos like this, the site, the podcast, social media, all that good stuff. If you want to learn more about the Patreon, which is just $1, you can check out a link in the description below. But as for today, that is it. I'll be back tomorrow with something. So until then, have a lovely day and a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a few short hours.